What is going on, guys? William Fletcher here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create an ebook cover in Canva. So this cover right here is what we will design in this tutorial, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So in this video I'm going to show you the exact color scheme I used to create this, what fonts we used, and how we took this graphic and turned it into a 3D book cover. So make sure you watch the entire video because I'm going to share it all step by step. Alright, so in preparation for this tutorial, I put together this doc so that way you guys would have all the details of this e-cover that we are creating. So number one, the size is going to be 1160 by 1365, and you'll see why that size is very important as we get to the end of this video. And I also put together the color schemes that we will be using. Now this is a pretty simple color scheme, but I think you're really going to like the end result of this. It's simply using a black color, a white color, and then a blue to just add a dash of color to the design. Now we're going to be using Anton, Poppins Extra Bold, and Poppins for the font. And then I have some copy prepared here that we will use for the book cover, which we may have to adjust depending on how things look. So let's jump over to Canva and let's start building this. So 1160 by 1365. So we're going to click on Create a Design, and we're going to use a custom size, and we're going to type in 1160 by 1365 and create new design. And with that created, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our background. And I actually like to do this as an element instead of a background. That way I can make any adjustments I want to it. So we will click on Elements, and I'm just going to grab a square shape, and I'm going to drag that all the way, cover the entire background, and we will just make sure that that is solid black. So we'll change this to 6 zeros. There we go. And we have our solid black background. Okay, now with that in place, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a guide, because this design here not only includes the cover, but it includes what will be on the spine of the book itself as well. So I'm going to come up here to File and Show Rulers and Guides. All right, so to create that guide for our spine, we're going to come over here and we're going to click. You can see my cursor change here as I bring that over. So I'm going to left click and hold, and you'll see at the top it's counting up in purple to the number of pixels, and I want it right at 100. So there we go. Now we're ready to rock and roll. So now that we have that there, let's start designing our cover. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this top text, including the quotation marks, because it adds just a little bit to the design. And we'll come back over here to Canva, and we're going to go to text element, and let's just add, for now, let's add a heading text. Actually, we'll do a subheading. We'll click that, and I'm going to paste my text in here. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to make this text a little bit smaller and choose our text that we chose for our design. So we're going to use Poppins Extra Bold for this. So we'll just type in Poppins and grab Poppins Extra Bold. And then let's shrink down the size of this so it fits on one. And let's make this just a little bit bigger. And let's bring this up to the top. And I actually want to make that a little bit smaller. And we'll see how this looks as we build this out. So we'll leave it about right there for now. Move it there just to center it. Okay. All right. So the next thing we want to add is our main title. So we'll come back over to our document here. We're going to grab this. And I'm thinking I'm going to do this probably on 2 separate lines. So I'm going to see what putting create and promote on the top looks like, and then putting profit directly below that. So let's add a text, let's add a heading, let's paste that in, and then let's change this font to Anton. And for this, we are also going to make it all caps. So we'll click that. And we're going to make this really big. So let's see what 125 looks like. A little too big. So let's drop it down to 100 and see what that looks like. And I think we need somewhere in between. Let's try 110. All right, let's move this to where it's going to be. Right in there. All right, and then I'm going to click this, press Command C or Control C on Windows, and Command V to paste it. So basically duplicate that. And now we're just going to write in profit. And we're going to make this way bigger. I'm thinking, let's see what 200 looks like. Let's try just a little bit bigger, maybe 210. And then let's try spacing this out. So we'll go to spacing and then we'll go to letter spacing. And I'm not liking these periods, so I think I'm actually going to get rid of those. So get rid of that. Maybe leave it for the top words, but not the bottom word. So just a little bit more. Something like that. And then I'm going to select both of these. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hold the shift key and click on this. Then I'm going to resize these together. Bring it a little bit smaller and let's bring them to the center. Something like that. And something I'm thinking, I'm not a huge fan of these periods here. I'm thinking maybe we can add something in between these words to make them look a little bit better. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'll space this out a little bit like that. And then later I'm going to come back. I'm going to put something here and see what it looks like. So let's start with that. All right, so let's go back to our document here. We're going to grab this next line of text, which is a framework to win. We're going to copy that and let's copy this element here. So let's duplicate this. We're looking for something about the same size. So let's duplicate that and let's drag that down and let's put that text in there. And I think what we're going to do on this is we're going to make this caps. And I want to change that letter spacing a little bit. Something like that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to add some color to this right here. So I'm going to go to our shapes and let's just do see all and see what we got. Let's try this right here and see what this looks like. Let's make this thinner and let's change this color to our blue. So let's go 018 CD7, plug that in there. Boom, there we go. Then let's bring that like that. Scoot this up. Then something like that. Boom, there we go. Let's grab these two and let's just move this over and center it here. Something like that. There we go. All right, now we're starting to get somewhere. Now let's start filling in this bottom area. Now I want to do some type of blob just to bring in color. I'm thinking if we search blob, we might find what we're looking for. So let's type in blob. We might use splatter and let's just see what we can find and play around with this a little bit. So there's a lot of graphics here. Let's take a look at these. And I like to use these just to get like a unique effect to go on. So let's click this. And we don't need one that's animated. We just need a static one. Keep looking here and just see what we find. Let's try this one, but let's flip this thing around. And let's see if we can flip it horizontally. There we go. And it may not be what we're looking for, but we'll play around with it a little bit. Don't think this will be the one we end up going with, but we're going to give it a shot here. So we're going to select our blue. And actually, let's do that for the other one. And then let's try this one, making it a different color blue. Something like that. But I'm not a fan of that blob quite yet. So let's delete this and let's try something else. So let's try to find a different blob here and see what we can find. Let's maybe start with this, just see what this looks like. And we're going to take this and do something like this. Put it up just a little bit more. Let's try that, see what that looks like. Now let's change the color of that to our blue. Okay. Now we got some color in there. move this down a little bit. And then let's try to add in our main hook for this book here. So we're going to add a text element, and we're going to do body text, and we're just going to use pop-ins for this. Plug that in there, and let's paste this text in and see what we got. And let's change that size way down. Let's make that, let's see what 20 looks like. And let's play with this here. So adjust it like that. Let's bring this down a little bit. Like it needs to be a little bit bigger, maybe something like that. And I think what we'll do is we're going to come back to our Google Doc because it gives us a little bit more options on the text. So we're going to go format text, capitalization, and we're going to do title case. And I like to do that anytime I'm using a title that's going to cover multiple lines. I like to do title case. So paste that back in there. And now that we got a title case, just bring this size down a little bit. And let's break this up. And now we're looking good. Something like that. See here, I feel like this is too high. I don't know if I should bring it down or if I should bring the rest of the content up. Thinking something like that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now the last element would just be putting a name down here and possibly a brand or a logo, something like that. So I'm going to copy this text. So we're just going to put our author's name here. So we'll put Ricky Bobby. All right. And we will shrink this down. Let's go like 75 and see what that looks like. A little bit smaller. Let's go 70. And let's try spreading that text out just a little bit. Something like that. And I still think we got a little bit smaller. Let's try 60. All right, we're going a lot smaller. Let's go 50. All right. If we want to, we could take like this text here, copy it, bring it down, and do like a written by. It's just a little bit bigger. Down center that. There we go. Thinking if we had like a brand logo or an icon or something, we would add that somewhere down here. So see if we can find some type of icon or something that would ideally go with the brand. But since we're just kind of making this up, let's just try to find an icon that looks cool. Let's type in rocket icon. You know, this is about launching. So let's try something like that. Try to find a cool one here. Kind of like this. Let's try this. Let's make this white. And let's bring it down here. Actually pretty cool. Perfect. So now we got a brand icon in there. Maybe Ricky's brand icon is all about launching. So that's what his brand is built around. So the last thing I want to do is just put my title of the book down the side. So let's just copy this and paste it. And we will just add profit. And we're going to make this longer. We're going to turn this 90 degrees. And we will bring this over. And we're going to have to make that font smaller. So let's make this around 80. And still a little bit smaller. We want to give it some padding there. So let's go like 70. Let's try that. See what that looks like. I think maybe just a little bit smaller. Let's do 65. There we go. And let's make this blue here. So let's just make promote blue. There we go. Now we got a nice looking design for our book cover. The next step would be to convert this into a 3D cover. Now, before I do that, I did think about doing one more thing to this, which was to make this background either a lighter black, just to see what it looks like, which personally, I actually like that a lot better. And another thing I thought about doing was taking this blob. So if I copy this and paste it, all right, and I'm going to flip this thing vertical. And don't worry, I'm going to push this all the way to the back. And what I wanted to do with this, try making this black and then changing the transparency on it. Okay, I gotta push this back one more level. I want it behind that. And all I'm trying to do here is just add a little bit of depth. This thing where you just barely see it, something like that. And it just gives a kind of a two-tone look. You can kind of see the variation up there. You can kind of see it right here, and it just kind of adds a little detail to it. So let's roll with that. And now let's turn this into a 3D cover. Now, if you remember back in the beginning of this tutorial, I said it was very important that we made it this size. And that is because we're going to come over into a program that I use called eCover Authority. And I'll scroll down here to the ebooks. And, so this software, you can create all these different kind of cool cover designs and computer designs and all this kind of stuff. But the one I started with was this paperback book standing. And if I clicked on info on that, it told me that cover was 1160 by 1365. And if I click on create here, you'll see that it opens it up and it's ready to create it. And if you remember, I told you this spine right here was 100 pixels. So that's where I got that information, is just seeing this design right here. And you can actually design your covers inside this program, but I prefer to design them in Canva and then import them in, and then let this software turn it into that 3D image. So let's go over to Canva and let's do share. And let's do download. And we're going to select PNG here. And we are going to download this. So click download. All right, now that that's downloaded to our computer, we're going to come back over here to eCover Authority. And we're going to do upload images. And we are going to select that file that we just downloaded and click open. Click on it and then stretch it to match size of this file. And now we are ready to create the 3D cover image. So we will click on save. We're going to create a PNG because we want a transparent background. And now we will click on render mockup. Now you will see it has turned our graphic in here into a 3D book cover, and we will click download. And there we go. Now we have an awesome looking 3D cover for our book.